Now, before we get started, I got to make something crystal clear. I love being a wedding DJ. I want to continue to be a wedding DJ. I don't have any animosity or disrespect for anyone who is a wedding DJ. I say this because sometimes people don't hear what you say. They hear what they want to hear, or they misinterpret things. So I got to make that crystal clear right off the bat, because I'm not trying to disrespect anybody or exit the wedding business. Having said that, I had some thoughts that I wanted to share. I was thinking about making a video, but I thought, you know what? Post it on Facebook first. Post what you have to say and see what the response is from what you say. That way, it gives me some answers to questions that you may already have that I can address in the video. So, anyway, with that being said, I'm going to read you what I posted on Facebook. Again, I still enjoy DJing wedding receptions. They can be very rewarding, both artistically and financially. However, with that being said, here are some reasons why it's refreshing to have a regular gig at the right nightclub or bar. I'm going to pause there. I said the right nightclub or bar, not the one that's dangerous, not the one that only wants to pay you $150 a night, not the one where you got to drag all your gear in, set it up and break it down every night, not the one that you just aren't enjoying, the right one. Okay? There's a difference. There are a lot of crap gigs out there. There are a lot of good gigs out there in this business. I'll address more of that a little later on. But I just want to make that crystal clear. I'm not talking about any nightclub or bar, the right nightclub or bar. And I've got some reasons here. I've actually added a few more since I've posted this on Facebook too. So here's the first reason that it's refreshing to work at nightclubs opposed to weddings. Little to no prep. New music and done. I am spending probably 40 hours on every wedding that I do. Now that's everything. That's drive time, performance, and all the prep, the meetings, the timeline creation, all that stuff. It's probably about 40 hours. At a club, no. You're not putting that time in at all. It's you just go to the club, do your job, and come home. That's nice. The workday is usually a lot shorter. And it is. I'm going in early, and I'm showing up at about 7:30. I'm done at 2. I'm home shortly after that. A wedding, I'm up in the morning. I'm out the door by 1. I'm usually working until like midnight. Then I got to break down and come home. I'm gone for over 12 hours. It's a long day. Don't have those long days doing clubs. No new interviews every week. When you're doing a wedding, you've got to do that whole interview process with the client, the nervous bride or groom, or the nervous grooms and groom and bride, or whoever you're dealing with. You have to answer their questions and go through this kind of qualification interview process with them until they decide to hire you. And it's weird because when you think about it, you put all this effort in, right? And you do this event, and most of us professionals are doing a fantastic job. At the end of the night, the client is so happy. And then what? You start over the next week with the next client where you got to win them over again. At a club, they know you, you know them, done and done. No weekly interview process. No wedding coordinators. There are some fantastic wedding coordinators out there. So I'm not disrespecting the wedding coordinator business or the wedding planner business. There are some rotten ones out there too. Just like DJs, there's good ones and bad ones. When you get a good one, they're helpful and it's refreshing. But it's been my experience that most of the time, that's not what I'm getting. No in-house venue micromanaging. Have you ever gone to a venue where whoever the person is running the place is telling you what's what? Screwing up your timeline? Telling you how they do things opposed to how you've already planned with the client how you're going to do things? It happens a couple times a year. Happened to me last year. I actually got one of the books coming up this summer I'm trying to get out of. Established relationships with the entire staff. Yeah. You know the bartenders, you know the servers, you know the managers, or anybody else there at the club that you work at. You don't have to go in there and meet everybody for the first time. You're working together. It's kind of like a dance. Everybody kind of knows what everybody else is doing. You help each other out. You can all profit together. It's really nice to have that at a nightclub or bar. A lot less equipment to haul around, set up, and break down. There are some places that require you to bring in a full system. You know, laptop, mixer, table, speakers, lighting, the whole bit. I understand that. But most of the time, that's not what's happening. Most people are bringing in like a mixing board, a laptop, and a microphone and plugging into an existing PA. That seems to be kind of the trend around here anyway. So you're still bringing equipment in, but it's not a lot. Nobody shames you for not dressing like a magician or an undertaker. Suits, tuxedos, all that crap. Shoes, pants in certain places. I got shamed for my shoes one time at a country club. I'm disabled. I'm wearing tennis shoes, but they're black, but they were still mad at me because there were no tennis shoes allowed in there. Well, I can't walk in anything else. I really disliked this whole concept of dress and load in clothes, load in, get all sweaty, and then put on really nice clothes even though you're all sweaty in a bathroom, in a toilet. Ugh, hate it. No new list of first and last names to remember or learn to pronounce. No. And last names, I live in Wisconsin, we're Polish and German. It gets rough. And Greek. Wow, that's fun. You gotta know how to pronounce them right, or they get offended. Are you kidding me? It's refreshing not to have to worry about that. Your boss isn't a nervous bride on the biggest day of her life. Now, this is what we do, okay, as wedding DJs. I think most of my job, I've said this before, is just to chill the client out. That's the biggest part of my job, to assure them everything's going to be okay. Of course they're nervous. I've never done this before, and I'm here for them. It's just nice to not have to do that. Every time I want to DJ for somebody. No difficult surprise setup locations. That's not to say that nightclubs and bars always have ideal setup locations. In fact, the one I'm at now is difficult. The one I was at, I don't know, a couple months ago, that one was difficult too. But once you know what the difficulty level is, you can plan for it. You get to sleep until late afternoon, sometimes early evening. I love that. Oh my gosh, I'm not a morning person. I didn't get into this business because I wanted to get up in the morning and do anything. That's so nice. It's nice to sleep in. I like to sleep. The older I get, the more I appreciate sleep. The music is usually a lot more fun. And that's general. I mean, sometimes some of these weddings that I do, the music's fantastic. And sometimes at the club, I'm playing things that I don't particularly love. But you can flex a little more at the club and take some more chances at the club that you can't at a wedding. Because at a wedding, you've got crazy playlists, which is the next one. You have no crazy playlists at a club. You get requests, and they're requests. They're not demands. You don't have to worry about a song that you don't have because you've got other things, and that's one person in the club, and everything doesn't, kind of balance on that one request like it might at a wedding. Here are a couple that I added. No difficult other wedding vendors. You guys know who I'm talking about. There are some wonderful coordinators out there. I mentioned that. There are some terrible ones. There are some wonderful photographers out there. There are some terrible ones. Photo booth, videographers. Can I plug into your system? First dance. You set up this great lightning experience for everyone to enjoy. And the video guy puts blinders on everybody, like aircraft landing lights on the dance floor, to capture the moment. That's not capturing the moment. I don't know what the hell that is. Learn a little something about your camera settings and learn how to shoot in the dark, dude. Don't have to deal with any of that crap. None of it. And just less overall stress. So before we go any further, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the money. A lot of people in the comment section had said, I'm not taking a pay cut going from a wedding to a nightclub. Well, guess what? I'm not either. What I'm doing are nightclubs or a nightclub in addition to the weddings that I'm already doing. I'm doing Fridays. I can still do weddings on Saturdays. Or on weeks I don't have anything, I still have a club gig. Look, first of all, I understand that not every nightclub or bar pays very well. Remember, we're talking about the right fit for you with the money and the experience and the whole bit. But let's talk about this money for a minute. I wrote this out and it's going to be easier for me to read it than try to riff on it. One club gig per week is less hours than a wedding, so you make less per week, but it can actually be more money per hour. All right, check this out. If you get $2,000 per wedding, which I think is pretty good money, all right? Some of you are going to say yes, some of you are going to say no, but that's pretty good money, guys. $2,000 per wedding, and actually think about your time invested with sales, meetings, prep, and performance. I'm averaging 40 hours per event. That's all the equipment prep, that's meetings, that's drive time, that's the performance itself. It's everything. So let's just pretend it's 40 hours on average. Sometimes more, sometimes less. 2,000 divided by 40 equals $50 per hour before expenses. Just taking into account things like fuel, liability, insurance, gear, rental fee based on 5% of your equipment investment, music downloads, monthly music services, and marketing, you'd probably actually be closer to $1,400. It's true, $600 is about what it costs me to go out and do a wedding when I do the math. $1,400 divided by 40 hours equals $35 per hour. Now, let's look at a weekly club gig at $400 per night. Some may say that's a lot. Some may say that's light. It's pretty good money for a club gig, $400 per night. All right? Unless you're David Guetta or Diplo or something, doing a Vegas residency. But most of us, $400 a night at a club, walk in, play, and leave. It's a pretty good deal. If we call it 6 hours with travel time, that's fair. That's $6.66 per hour. It's more, all right? There's investment here too, with monthly music services and gear rental, but it's typically a laptop and a controller, like we talked about before. Even if it's $50 per gig, you're at $350, and that's $58.33 per hour. It's more money per hour than the $50 before expenses doing a wedding. So yes, you have an opportunity to make more money doing weddings because you're working more hours. But if you look at it per hour, yeah, club gigs are not a bad deal. So if you incorporate the right club with your weddings, especially if you have like no prep for your club gig, that's pretty good. That's worthwhile to do. So I'll do some story time with you. How did I come to all these conclusions? Well, I'm remembering things that I'd forgotten because, as many of you know, the club that I'm working at is something that I'm going back to. I quit 25 years ago because my daughter was born. Now I'm back. I was there for 6.5 years and I loved it. But you forget why you worked there in the first place. And you forget why you started doing weddings in the first place. So, check this out. My first DJ gig ever, I was 13. It was at a skating rink. I was asked to work there, kind of blindsided one day. I was there and they said, hey, go be the DJ. Threw me back there. I think a 10-year-old girl showed me how to work a mixing board and some light switches for lights where the records were, and away I went. I was a DJ. I was making minimum wage, and I loved it. I was doing every Friday night, and I was even there on the nights that I didn't work just because I enjoyed it so much. I would just go in floor guard for nothing, or skate or hang out. That was my spot. That was the spot that I loved to be at. Thinking about like a year after that, when I was in 8th grade, they had this program in school, and you're going to laugh at this. It was called the ED program. I know ED stands for something very different today, but back then, the ED program was for emotionally disturbed students. They were troublemakers who couldn't behave well in regular class, is what they were. It was just a group of misfits, and they were in their own classroom together with their own teacher every day. Now, they didn't do gym class because that was, for some reason, not their thing. So they would do things like field trips to the skating rink. Well, this was during the school day. So I wasn't involved in those classes, of course, but because I was the DJ there, I would get an excuse to get out of whatever class I was in to get on the bus to go with the ED students to the skating rink and DJ for them for an hour and get out of school. In 8th grade, man, that was awesome. A couple years later, I got a job as a mobile DJ, doing wedding receptions when I was like 17. And you know what? I didn't love it. I learned a lot, though. I didn't like, the costume changes like I talked about before. I hated the heavy equipment. I hated the very long hours compared to, what it was like just to show up at a skating rink and play. But I did it, and they knew that I was solid, so whenever any kind of lounge or club job would pop up through the multi-app, I would get the work. And I did really well with that. I was doing everything from, hotel lounges to nightclubs to bars to whatever, and I was like 18. I was 18 when I started doing that. I really enjoyed it. I excelled at it, and the money was just about the same as I was making doing mobiles. It was a little less, but it didn't matter because I was working more days per week. I was actually making more. And I left that company. I went to another mobile company doing weddings again, and they would get work at clubs, bigger clubs, and I would go work there. Some of the clubs like, I don't know, the old days had where the DJ booth was way up in the sky and it's just brand new dance music all night. I was doing that stuff at maybe 19, 20. And then when I was 21, I got the job at the place that I'm back at now. And it was so much cooler than doing any kind of mobile work. So I quit doing mobiles, and I just wanted to do that. And it was the same pay, roughly. What I was getting paid at the multi-op, I was making the same at the club. So I just wanted to do that, and I made it clear to everybody, hey, I do not do weddings anymore. I am a club DJ now. That's what I do. And I just would go there on nights that I didn't work, just like the skating rink. I loved it. Just loved it. And what started happening, like 2 years in, was people were coming to me asking me to do their wedding. I was like, I don't do that anymore. I don't, no. I just do clubs now. So eventually somebody said, well, money guy, why are you turning our money down? And they're putting a lot of money on the table. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of cash. I guess I should invest in a mobile system and do weddings. So, yeah, I would say, was it 2 years later? Yeah, 2 years after I started the club, I started doing weddings in addition to the club work, which was cool because a lot of people at the club wanted me to do their, other events too, weddings or whatever. And I did that, started the company I'm currently running now, and working at the club. If I wasn't doing a mobile, I was working the club. And then when my daughter was born, I left the club because it was late nights and I needed to be there to raise my kid. And I did the wedding thing because of the money. And I go back into clubland once in a while. I did Evolve, I did some salsa clubs, I did all kinds of stuff for a long time. On and off. Primarily mobile, but do the club stuff too. But the club stuff just didn't pay like the mobiles did, So you keep going back to the mobiles, not because you particularly prefer it, it's just because it pays better. Now, we're at this weird place where I showed you the math. You have an opportunity to make more money as a wedding DJ than you do a club DJ. Yes, you do. However, you are actually making more per hour as a club DJ, and you got more time. Mark Farrell had said that he really likes doing weddings, and one of the reasons that he listed was, he makes 10 times more money doing a wedding than he does a club. Yeah, but he's putting in 10 times the work. That's kind of how it works. The other reason that he had mentioned was because he gets to do these events with his wife. She comes with and works with him. Well, not everybody has that experience where you can bring the wife or the girlfriend along with you. Blanca doesn't want to go do weddings with me. However, the club with no prep, what did I say, 40 hours total? And 12 hours of that is performance and drive? Okay, so we got 28 hours freed up during the week for her and the kids and the grandkids now that I didn't have with the wedding. So, touche, Mark. There's more than one way of looking at things. I've blabbed enough. This is a very long video, but thank you for watching. And I welcome your comments and your likes. Please leave them down here. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I'd appreciate it. It's enough talking. We'll see you next time. I appreciate you so much. Practice and enjoy.